Good to go.
Cool. Well, another week of League One action means only one thing, and that is another episode of League One on the Rocks. So, as always, I am Rich. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Rich, but I'm not. And beside me is Brian. You can find him on Twitter at Mediocre Ace. Brian, how's
Mhm.
it going?
It's going. Uh, Almost the end of the work week, so that's a good thing.
Yes, that's always a good thing.
Recording on a Thursday, so it's a little weird.
Yeah, it is. All that Open Cup action throws off all the scheduling and everything.
Hmm.
But it was a good run of League One matches. As well as some good Open Cup matches. So we are definitely going to be running or diving into all that stuff, and we're going to be diving pretty hard into um, some of the news from around the league, and then also previewing some of the matches this weekend, including the fan voted match, which is going to be Greenville hosting North Carolina. So it's going to be a good show. So stay tuned for all those fun topics ahead, and we got a good show for you tonight.
Hmm.
And Brian, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm just going with water. There's actually yo-yo berry night out here for my kids' school, so we just got back from that not too long ago. So I don't even think I could throw anything more down right now, even if I wanted to.
What is yo-yo berry?
It's supposed to be like frozen yogurt, but they also have like ice
Oh,
cream. But it's one of those topping bars, where you go get a cup of frozen yogurt or frozen ice cream, and then you throw a million different toppings on it, and then they weigh it for your payment.
yep.
Yeah, that's $31 worth of ice cream. So that's great. But
Those are always good nights, man.
uh, the things
It's
we
like
do to support the kids.
exactly, yeah. And you load up all the candy and everything, and you're thinking, man, this is gonna be so awesome. And you get to the cashier and you're like, oh crap, yeah, I have to
Hmm.
pay for this now.
Yep. CJ asking, "Do I deliver next time?" I would, but there's a ton of people in there for the school tonight, so that was really cool to see. And plus, I needed to eat mine because I got vanilla and hot fudge, so wanted to make sure the
Oh
hot
yeah.
fudge didn't harden up or anything like that. So,
Yeah, you had that quick on that stuff.
oh yeah, definitely. But I'll keep that in mind next time, CJ.
And CJ, man, you had an awesome trip down there to St. Louis. I can't wait to hear all those stories. Um, the pictures, I mean, the videos that I saw, uh, man, just look at an awesome time. So I'm jealous of you guys. And also the place where y'all were staying there, like had a corner to the stadium. Holy crap, man. Like you look like you were staying in an arcade.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
cool.
So yeah, I'm just when next time we hang out, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut, my ears open, and I'm just gonna listen to all the stories that you guys have to tell. So that's gonna be fun. Um, yeah. I will actually not be in Omaha this weekend for the Omaha versus Northern Colorado match. I'm heading to Chicago tomorrow. Going to go see Into the Woods, that Broadway show. So won't be able to do any chatting this weekend, but next time we see each other,
Yeah, we go on the road. Omaha goes on the road for what, 2 weeks after this Saturday, and then they come back for two matches in short successions.
do they really?
I believe when they come back, it's Wednesday and Saturday. It's Greenville and somebody else.
Oh, let me look at the schedule right now. I did not know that. Yeah, you're right. They go on the road to Richmond on Friday, and then they and then the not the next night, but the week after, they go on the road to Chattanooga, and then they host Greenville. Oof, man, some weird scheduling there.
Yeah, definitely is. But we don't have the Open Cup to kind of mess with us now this time, so
No, we don't.
we'll get into that in a little bit later. But
Yeah,
rough time for League One teams.
it was. Yeah, I was hoping for a better showing from League One clubs for multiple reasons. It's kind of one of those situations where you want the League One teams to succeed, and then at the same time, you kind of want some of those teams to succeed not only for the media attention, but also so they can have a few extra matches on their schedule, some of
Right.
those road matches, some of that wear and tear down the line. Um, but yeah, we don't get any of that. So everyone in League One is just getting fresh legs week in and week out, and it's just like,
Mm.
damn it.
Yeah, they get to focus on the league, and then we've got 3 teams that are splitting the $25,000 pot. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Omaha, Tormenta, and Northern Colorado. So, um, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of bright spot to it if you're a fan of one of those 3 teams.
Yep. And as Zach posted on Twitter earlier today, drinks on Union Omaha this weekend.
All right. $13 tall boys, let's go. Yeah, CJ, last year MLS teams definitely did underestimate a lot of League One sides. And I mean, I saw something on the what is the Twitter account, the cup.us Twitter account, um, talking about that's just kind of how it goes. I mean, some years you have a ton of cup sets, and other years you just really don't have many. So
Mhm.
it's kind of it's a flexible situation. So we'll see how League One does next year. That'll be exciting to see as well.
Yeah, but it's always nice to see, the League One clubs have some measures of success. I mean,
Hmm.
with those three clubs that you just mentioned, having wins against a championship team,
Yep.
that's a pretty damn good victory in and of itself. So,
Hmm.
even though it wasn't against an MLS club this year, I'd say the wins against a championship club are
Hmm.
just as good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's tough to be upset about beating a higher division team.
Yeah, yeah. And did you see some of the matchups for the 4th round of the Open Cup?
I didn't get a chance to look at them. I was been super busy at work today, so it was I didn't see any of those. I was actually the last match I remember watching was San Jose and Monterey Bay, which turned out to be
Oh,
a really exciting one despite
yeah, it
the
was.
less than ideal camera angles out there,
Yep,
but s-
exactly.
still a really fun match to watch.
Yeah, it was. I so last night I was one of my assignments was Memphis 901 versus Atlanta,
Mm,
and uh, I was working on my other assignments because I had that one pretty much done because Atlanta scored early on. It was an injury time of second half. I figured, all right, I've got my write up for that one all done. I don't need to focus on that one anymore. But I had it on the big screen and I'm working on the other ones. And all of a sudden, I hear a bunch of screaming coming from that TV. And I'm thinking, oh, son of a bitch. I know that means I just have to delete everything I just wrote
mhm.
and go over there. And sure enough, yeah, they had that literally last second PK
Yep.
that sent them into extra time. And then they upset Atlanta in those 2 periods extra time. So man, it was exciting. That
Mhm.
was a fun one to watch.
Yeah, there's definitely been some excitement this year in the Open Cup. It's just unfortunately not the league that we cover having the success. So,
Yep. But we're going to be talking about League One tonight. So we had week 6 action last week
mhm,
and some pretty pretty big results. Honestly, there were some. I'd have to go back and check and see how the fans voted on some of these, but I think everyone was thrown for a loop on these matches.
mhm,
To start off with, I mean, on Wednesday night we had Charlotte hosting Union Omaha and a 0-0 draw there.
yep,
Um, and then we had Greenville later on that evening hosting Central Valley Fuego. And I mean, that was a 3-0 victory for Greenville, their first victory of the season. So slow clap for the Greenville fans. Finally got one on the board. At the end of the week, Greenville had 2 victories, and those 6 points shot them up 8 spots in the league standings, and they are currently in 4th place. And just last week, we were talking about I mean, what is going on with this team? They haven't scored, they haven't won. I mean, now they have 2 victories and they're suddenly up in 4th place. Like that's the chaos you love to see from League One.
And I mean, it's one of those things too. It's kind of like what I was saying. Um, to believe somebody in the chat for one of our shows was talking about, oh, is this kind of a sign that Harks might not be sticking around, and said, just give him time. It's one of those
Yep.
coaches. Give him a little bit of time, and sure enough, look what happened. You know,
Yep.
that's how this league is going to go. I have a feeling this year it's going to be weird, crazy, even more crazy than the last few years. So that'll be interesting to see, but definitely don't count anybody out, especially this early.
So which kind of brings me to a text message that you sent me. You said that with the power rankings, you said that you feel like we're kind of getting to a place where we can start to see where the teams are going to be slotted.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit more about that.
So, with the power rankings that I sent you, it just kind of looking at the table as it sits now and kind of the last five run of form, you can really see like Charlotte, especially, is one of those teams that look like they're going to end up being pretty strong throughout the entire year. It doesn't look like they're going to trip up too much. Granted, everything is subject to change, but um, they don't have a defeat in their last five, 3 wins, 2 draws. So, in North Carolina, they just have one defeat and 3 wins and a draw. So those two are kind of starting to separate themselves. And I mean, when you look at the points as well, granted, they have a lot more matches. Charlotte's sitting on 6 matches already, 12 points out of 6 matches. North Carolina's 10 on 5. So, um, but those two look like, right now at least, some pretty clear playoff favorites.
Oh yeah.
Um, Once you get into the middle, you kind of get a little bit crazier because everybody is a lot closer in matches played and everything like that. Um, and goal differentials are really not that far off right now. And then flipping it and looking at the bottom of the table, ninth through 12th are all sitting on 4 points, and each of those teams only has one win in their last five. So
Mhm.
there's there's just a ton of work to be done for One Knox, Lexington, Chat, and Central Valley. Um, Luckily enough for them, they have a lot of time to get it figured out. But
Yeah.
especially if you're Central Valley right now, you're sitting dead last with a -5 goal differential.
Yeah.
It, you can't start the season off like that. I mean, I don't think this season is set up to be a Tucson esque type run of a season again.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, and I was wrong last year. I said Tucson was about dead, you know, with 9 or 10 weeks left in the season, and look what they did. So
Yep.
obviously, a lot of time, but that's kind of how I'm seeing it shake out a little bit. I think all those teams in the middle are going to be interchanging, but I think the top two and probably the bottom two are going to be sitting somewhere around the end of the season.
Okay. So you kind of answered my next question because you kind of alluded to the fact that there's still time in the schedule, but then at the same time there's that sort of separation happening.
Hmm.
Um, and there's always time. There's always Tucson time. You got to keep that into account. So sitting here and now, I know you just mentioned the bottom two.
Hmm.
Are there any teams that you are ready to write off or here and now, like they're not going to make the playoffs?
No, I don't think there's anybody in the table that can't turn it around with for the majority of these teams 25 plus matches
Yeah.
left. Um, that's a ton of time to get it figured out. I mean, we saw what Omaha did last year with, what did we have, 11 draws last season,
Yeah.
and still made the playoffs. So there's so much that can be it. And Tucson last year showed us that you can make a late season run and some really good things. So
Yep.
I'm not ready to write anybody off as not going to make the playoffs yet. There's some that are circling that point for sure, but
Yeah.
um, I think we got to get at least 5 to 10 more matches in before I start making those kind of assertions.
Damn, we got Tim coming in hot. Yeah, but look where Tucson is now.
Yeah, I mean, true. Not completely their fault.
No, it's
They're
not.
the play on the field's fault, but, um and they're supposed to be back. I mean, whether or not they're back and they come back in when Rich and I are still covering the league, because our team might be in a higher division at that point, but who knows? There's always time.
Hmm. Yeah, that's going to be a interesting one. I don't know if I want to sit here and like definitively say that any club is out of the playoffs here and now. I mean, we're some of
Okay,
these
well,
teams have only played 3 matches, and
yeah.
so there's still plenty of time and everything. But at the same time, there are some teams where you're watching them play and you're thinking, I don't know if they can turn it around.
Well, let me ask you the inverse of that question then. You asked me if there's any teams that I think are completely out of the playoff picture. Do you have any teams locked in your head as they will make the playoffs this year?
Yes. So I think the top three, Charlotte, North Carolina, Tormenta, I think you can lock them into the playoffs here and now. Um, the next three slots for the playoffs, that's where the chaos is because I mean teams you have Richmond in eighth right now, and they're a team that could easily make the playoffs. They just have to kind of right the ship. Um, Omaha, Northern Colorado, Madison, Greenville. I mean, that's man, right there. You have five clubs
Mhm,
battling for three spots, and there's going to be some massive chaos going down the line. But here now, for me, I think yes, Charlotte, North Carolina, Tormenta. You can go ahead and book them into the playoffs. Yeah,
mhm. Tim saying he's not sold on Bolts boys making it, and I'm with Tim on that one. I can see definitely Charlotte and North Carolina. I would give you those as pretty sure playoff picks. Tormenta, they're very hot and cold for me. I don't know.
they are.
I oh, I like the team and I like the way they play, and they obviously have the talent to do it.
Yeah,
It's playing with that consistency, but I mean that's you could say that about every team in this league right now.
yeah.
No team is playing super consistently across the board. So,
And I wholeheartedly agree with you on that assessment, both you and Tim saying that about Tormenta. The reason I'm saying that is because once they are able to get past their injuries and everything, and they're able to get the personnel that they want on the field on a consistent basis, that team showed from week one that they have the confidence to, and they have that experience to know how to win a game. Um, even if they're just gonna preserve a draw, they know how to get the point at the final whistle. Whereas other clubs, when you're watching them play, you would typically think that this is a team that knows how to preserve the draw. They know how to keep the win and all that kind of stuff. But then at the same time, you see them letting in late goals or something like that and screwing up their chances to move up the table. And I don't get that same feeling from Tormenta.
mhm,
I think that they're going to be one of those teams that yeah they'll be hot and cold, but at the same time they'll be hot and cold enough that they'll be able to stay in that playoff contention the entire season.
yeah, that's completely fair. And I really
Yeah,
like the point that you brought up about them getting all of their guys back because that I had remembered that that was an issue, but I guess I just didn't put two and two together. But yeah, I mean they're sitting in third place on 9 points right now with what a third of their roster missing. I mean
yeah.
that's that's sitting pretty well. That's a really good point.
And let's see, Tim asking how many points makes playoff cut line this year. Let
Oh,
me do.
that's the math I can't. I don't. 32 matches. The problem is there's such a fluctuation between matches played between these teams. We have
Yeah,
Charlotte sitting on 6, North Carolina on 5, Georgia on 6, and teams like Madison, Northern Colorado on. So I mean, what they're already doubled up in matches played. So and I don't expect Charlotte to go without a loss this season or so. That also throws a monkey wrench in it.
Wait, what was that? What'd you say?
I don't foresee Charlotte going lossless this season. I think they will lose at
Oh,
least one match.
for some reason, when you said that, I thought you were saying they're going to go undefeated this season.
No, no.
Oh man,
This league is a little too crazy for that.
that's why I stopped in my tracks. Like, hold on, wait, what'd you say?
No, I'm not. I'm not that crazy.
Okay, so how many points for playoff cut line this year for Tim? I'm going to say 45. Yeah.
Let's see, what was the playoff line last season? 42 was last season. 2021, the playoff line was 40. 2020 was COVID year, so that doesn't count. 2019. What was the playoff in 2019 six teams as well?
Um, 4.
Four teams? Okay, so that
Yep.
was 40. So you say 45?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to track. The league is a lot better this season too,
And they get 2 more matches this season in comparison to last season.
and two more matches. Yeah, I'd rock with 40.
Yeah. So that's where I'm sitting right now. Yeah. Um, and oh, that's one of those things that I wanna look at because I wanna see um, teams starting off in their first 5, 6 matches, their point per match,
Hmm.
and then how they did at the end of the season. Like historically, I want to see like if there's a tendency, like if your club is getting, let's say, I don't know, one and a half, yeah, like Tim said here, reasonable at 1.5-ish points per game. If your team is getting 1.5 points per match in your first 5 or 6 matches, if that already stamps your pass into the playoffs at the end of the season. So that's one of those things I want to look at, but obviously can't do that here on the fly.
Right,
I think that would be an interesting one to see, though. If there's ever been any team that started off super strong and then just completely,
just flatlined.
sh- yeah, shit the bed there at
Hmm.
the end of the season and missed the playoffs. Trying to think if there would be any one of those that would be out there. I can't think of any of those happening.
So I think it's been super crazy. Like, um, look like it in 22, 21. It
Because,
it doesn't look like it in 20 as well. And 20, I can look at it, but pretty much throw that.
yeah,
And in 2020, Greenville just rocked the regular season. So,
yeah, they did. Yeah,
and then 2019 North Texas just rocked the league.
yeah, they did. Yep.
Just from a quick glance, it doesn't look like that's the case really. Without, yeah, that's quite a deep dive to go into that answer that question.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of those where if I'm sitting on the couch, just if I, funny enough, like if I'm sitting on the couch trying to escape soccer for the moment and just trying to stream a show or something like that, and then that kind of a question pops up in my mind, I I can't continue watching the show because I need to know the answer.
Sure. You've got that should we call it a gift or a curse? You'd probably see it as both ways, really.
Oh yeah, yeah. Can definitely see it both ways. That's why I'm not caught up on all the shows that I want to watch.
Oh yeah.
I
Neither am
should
I,
just like
man.
I should just like write it down on my phone. Like, all right, I'll take care of that next time I take a look at it.
Hmm.
But nope.
I've got I've got one show that I'm 100% caught up on. That's the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge Star Wars nerd too.
Tim coming in. It's a gift unless your wife is trying to watch with you. That's true.
That's fair. Solid point, Tim. Solid point. Well, let's see here.
What did I
I
do?
was going to look at matches. Okay. So we talked about Greenville and Fuego. Um, so we got the Wednesday matches out of the way. So we could shoot down to Friday, where South Georgia Tormenta goes and beats One Knox in Knoxville
Yeah,
with a score of 2-0, with Knoxville getting a red card for a rather scary challenge.
yeah,
Box.
yeah. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. Man, I've watched so much soccer lately. I'm trying to think back to these matches, but yeah, I remember seeing One Knox getting that red card and thinking, "Yep, all right, this one's over," because Tormenta's going to turn it on, and yeah,
Yeah, they did, and that this was Tormenta being the Tormenta we know, kind of controlling that midfield area and playing through their mid. Toby Otieno
man,
continues to show that he is a very good player in League One.
just
Some
lighten it up.
some of the passes that he can, he's got that vision, and it's an underappreciated.
Yeah,
And that's not just because he played for Union. I would say that even if he played for somebody
no,
like Greenville or Madison. um, but yeah, South Georgia getting back to winning ways in that one, and then a match that watching it seemed a lot closer than the final score would lead you to believe. But NCFC beating Chattanooga 3-0. There were points in that match where Chattanooga looked like they might be able to capitalize on some a little bit suspect, I guess, defense for NCFC, but just
hmm
never able to make it past their last line of defense. And got to give NCFC a lot of credit for that too, because that's one of their things that I've been harping on them all season. That I don't think that their defense is strong enough, but that's a, I mean, it's not a world beater Chattanooga squad by any means, but it's still a good Chattanooga squad that they were able to hold to 0 points. So, and then I mean, what can you really say too for Rafa Menzigen? That dude, he just scores. That's just what he does.
Oh yeah, yeah. When you have Rafa Mensingen and Olex Anderson and Louis Perez and Jaden Servania, I mean that top four right there. Good freaking lord, that's just an incredible lineup right there. Um, I mean, yeah, Olex Anderson is just on fire right now. Mensingen, he's playing lights out. It's just yeah, and then Louis Perez just like assisting like crazy. It's just yeah, they're a fun team to watch. And like you said, there's some legitimate concerns for defense, but I mean, when you have Nick Holiday in net and you have Daniel Navarro there at their center back, I mean, there's just they have really good players top to bottom. They do have their chances of being exposed, but they haven't really shown a tendency for that yet this season, which is surprising us all because we all thought, all right, you have all the offense that you want or need. What's going on with the defense? And I mean, they're showing that.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they have 8 goals for and 4 goals allowed. So a 4 goal differential that puts them tied at the top with Charlotte. So um, yeah, two teams that I didn't think were going to have much of a defense seem to have a pretty decent defense.
And kind of plays into the whole thing about Chattanooga. I mean, we talked about a hot and cold team like Tormenta. Chattanooga is one of those teams that has tendencies to be hot and cold, but obviously they're a little bit more on the colder side in comparison to Tormenta. I've seen a lot of reactions, I'll say that lightly, from some of their fans on social media. And man, I don't know. They're showing up to the den. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Uh, but how loyal they are to Ziggy and the rest of the technical staff and the rest of the club, I don't know that because it's a new head coach, it's new players. They're not getting the results that fans probably feel they deserve. Um, there's some frustrations there in Chattanooga, and you're seeing that in other places.
Mhm.
But with Chattanooga, man, they're a team that I don't even see them in the chaos of making a playoff spot. They're one of those teams that could be chaotic in the sense that they're a team that you don't want to sleep on when you have to play them. But I don't think they're one of those teams that's going to be challenging for the playoffs. We're not seeing a whole lot of offensive production from them. There's no doubt that they can, contain offensive attacks.
Mhm.
They've shown that tendency, but they can't really do it on the other side of the field.
Yeah, they strike me as almost a Tucson 2.0 kind of team.
Yeah,
Um, which and I mean, going back to the fans showing up, I mean, I think the fans will continue to show up. It's just
yeah,
whether or not they are going to be patient with a team that, for whatever reason, decided to part ways with as many players as they did in this offseason. That that team last year went to the League One final.
hmm,
So getting rid of the majority of the pieces of the team that very easily could have beat Tormenta in the final and just wholesale cutting it out and going with new people, like, it's a strategy. I, who knows if it's going to end up paying off or what the reasoning behind it was, but I think that Chattanooga supporters have a right to be a little upset about it. 'Cause, I mean, if
yeah,
you look at where they're sitting right now, you know, they're sitting on 4 points in 4 matches
yeah,
with two losses. I mean, I'd be pissed too.
yeah. I mean, when you look at their lineup, I mean, they still have Carlos Aviles. I mean, he's going to be one of the best goalkeepers in the league. He just won't have the end of the season recognition because of the guys in front of him, unfortunately. I'll say it bluntly. I don't Yeah. He's a very good goalkeeper. There's no doubt about that. But if he doesn't have the support in front of him, he's not going to have the highlights to
Mhm.
get him any of those accolades. You still see Aaron Lombardi, you still have Alex Tejera up top, but the guys in between Tejera and Aviles and Lombardi, I mean, I don't know, man. There's not a whole lot to be speaking of.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this team continues on in the season. I don't know.
Mhm. I mean, they show a couple flashes here and there of
Yeah,
what they're capable of. Unfortunately, though, it's just not enough with them that makes me believe that they're going to be one of those teams that can dice it up with any. I think there are tiers, and they're unfortunately probably one of the lower tiers of, at
I'll
least
agree
for
with that.
right now. And like we've said, this is all subject to change, but right now they are not playing good enough soccer to be challenging for a playoff spot right now.
Yeah,
It's not consistent enough, I should say.
yeah,
Um, but there's time, and you got to give them a little bit of time, especially with a fresh coach and an almost entirely fresh roster.
yep,
You're gonna have these growing pains.
yep. And I saw Juan Galindra's post the other day. That dude still has not signed with a club. I
That's
mean,
rather shocking, honestly.
Yeah, that is rather shocking. You have those key components to last season's um, roster playing in other places and playing very well, and then you
Mhm.
have Juan Galindres sitting on the sideline. Not even on the sideline. I mean, he's in the stands. Um, it's just crazy to think about, man. That's a good player that
Mm.
clubs could be having on their roster. So that's weird.
Yeah, we'll see come, deadline day kinda stuff if anybody's gonna be picking him up for a late season push.
And so to flip it back over to North Carolina, uh, I'm still surprised to see Shaq Adams not excelling. Maybe this is um, a bit of a take, but I thought Shaq Adams was going to be a whole lot more dominant than he has been since he's returned to League One from Championship.
Mhm. I agree, and I kinda felt that way last year
Yeah,
when he came back. It didn't seem like he was making as big of an impact as he was made out to. Um,
yeah,
Granted though, this year it is a little bit different because they're just loaded with offensive talent,
they are. Yeah,
and it's gonna be really hard to get any of those guys consistent scoring opportunities when there's so many options. It's not like I want to pick on Richmond here, but it's not like Richmond where your best goal scorer is Terzaghi right in the center. Like this team is just not set up that way for
yeah,
NCFC. NCFC can hurt you anywhere, and granted, Richmond does that very well, getting Terzaghi going, but it's just two completely different styles, and it's not built to have one superstar out there in NCFC. And I don't think that's ever was never part of their plan
yeah,
either. Especially with how much time and investment they're putting into the academy program. They don't want one superstar that you just sign and bring in. They want the entire team to be the central focus. And so far, it's working out for them so far. So hard to fault them for that.
yeah. It's pretty crazy to see North Carolina, even when so you look at their starting lineup and then you take a look at some of their subs from the match against Chattanooga.
Hmm.
They had Shaq Adams coming on the field, Garrett McLaughlin, which is another surprising one. We can talk about that in just a little bit. And then, I mean, you have other players. Even Devin Benton didn't see the field, and he's a player that could easily have an impact when he comes on the field. Um,
It started the majority of clubs.
yeah, yeah. It's just, man, I don't know how they were able to get this roster together. I mean, it's like North Carolina and Charlotte. When you look at their roster in the offseason, and Ford Madison, I mean, and One Knox. I mean, those were four teams in the offseason where you're thinking like, holy crap, man, how'd you guys get this roster together?
Yeah. All like known quantities in League One too, which is just
Yeah,
insane.
yeah. It was kind of makes you think to a lesser degree of the Miami Heat when they got the. I'll bring it to your team since you're a big fan of them.
Hmm.
When they got the three guys together.
Yeah. Bosch, Wade, and LeBron.
There you go. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm glad you helped me out on that one.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing about that team too, was they had those role players around them, which
Mm,
is to bring it back to League One. I mean, NCFC has the same thing where even the guys on the bench are big time players that excel in the one thing they were brought in to do. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to call them a super team like
no.
Miami was, but um, I mean they're playing the part so far.
And speaking of role players, Garrett McLaughlin, we've said this before and we'll say it again. The guy was a Golden Boot contender last season for a vast majority of the season. And here he is now, and he's playing a more supporting role. He's not
Mhm.
even starting.
Yeah,
And when he comes on, he sits back farther. He's sort of the a chain in that link up play. He's not, you know, pressing high. He's not on the receiving end a lot of those long passes. He's the one who's providing those long passes. I mean, it's just,
Mhm,
man, good for him for taking on a new role like that and excelling. Because I mean, he's still excelling. He's
mhm.
having a good season. He may
There's
not be in the limelight, but he's doing a good job.
yeah, there's some very sneaky good coaching decisions going on in North Carolina.
Yeah, I would love to sit down with John Bradford and like pick his brain a little bit. I think that would be
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah, I think he has a vision for what he wants the team to be, and I think it's finally coming together for him.
Yeah,
'Cause I mean, it, there were flashes last year where you could tell he really knows what he's doing, and when this clicks, it's going to click. I mean, we said it
yeah,
last season. When it clicks, it's going to click. And granted, they brought in a ton of talent. That doesn't hurt, but um, talent is only as good as the system that you're in or the system that you.
yeah.
So it's interesting to see, and will continue to be interesting to see as the season goes.
And I love how everyone is whenever clubs line up against North Carolina, they always think, all right, we're going to develop our defense to try to contain Olex Anderson.
Mhm,
Well, first off, good luck doing that. And second off, if you assign personnel to follow Olex Anderson around, even if you put a spy on him, if you have multiple guys that are marking him as he comes into your half, there's Rafa Mintz again. I mean, he currently leads the club with 4 goals,
mhm,
and Olex Anderson has 2. So as much as you may want to float your personnel over to Rafa, if you do that, Olex is going to kill you.
mhm. Yep,
Yeah, that's just oh man, it's just this team is fun to watch.
they are indeed.
Let me look something up here. I'm not seeing it right now. Oh, I can look over here. There it is.
Yeah, and just a shout out too, because you brought it up a little bit earlier, Rich. Shout out to the Miami Heat coming back and beating the Bucks in 5. Sorry, Madison fans. I know there's a lot of you that are also Bucks fans, but sorry, not sorry. Jimmy Butler's the man.
um, I think I saw some quotes from Giannis. They were asking him if this season was a failure, and he had some
Hmm.
quote where Michael Jordan played for 12 seasons and had 5 championships.
6,
6, yeah, that's right. I should know that as a Bulls fan.
16-6. Yeah,
Yeah, and so
16,
he was saying
whatever it
like,
was.
"No, this wasn't a failure," and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, okay.
Hmm. Yeah, I've been consuming quite a bit of NBA media recently, so
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, there's things with that, and I think I retweeted that too and said like it's important to. I mean, it's a good thing. I don't think it's true in the Bucks situation, but just to bring it back to League One, I mean, there's that's important because you got to look at it as a whole. There's a lot of stuff, especially last year being Union Omaha fans. I know there was a lot of stuff like, well, Omaha has been in the finals the last 2 years. They should be making it further in the playoffs. Like, well, no, I mean, there's a difference between goals that are attainable and goals that are unattainable
yeah,
or unrealistic goals. You can't realistically expect to be in the playoff or in the finals every single year.
mhm,
Um, that doesn't mean your season is a failure if you don't make it to the final. Like, no, that's stupid. There,
yeah,
you have your low attainable goal, which should be for every team should be the playoffs.
yeah,
When half the teams make it in, your goal should be we need to make the playoffs every year. That should be your baseline goal. You hit that, it's not a failure. You met your goals. Anything
yeah,
after that is gravy. Now you can't make the playoffs every year for 20 years and not make it to a final or not win a final. That then it starts to get to that. But with such a young league and everything like that, and it being third division soccer, it I just thought it was important to bring that up and just say like set attainable goals for your club. Don't think any of these clubs are going to be dominating the league every single year, year in and year out, because that's just not how third division soccer is set up.
yeah. I
I mean,
agree.
we could see Charlotte this year win the league sweepingly, and then next year be the wooden spoon. I mean, there's we're seeing it right now with Chattanooga. Chattanooga was in the final last year, and now
Yeah.
they're one spot from the bottom of the table.
Yep. Yep. All right. So then after the North Carolina Chattanooga match, that was the Friday night. We get into Saturday where Charlotte battled to a 1-0 victory over Central Valley.
Hmm.
Kind of surprising on that one because you know the caliber of club they are, and to see them only beat Central Valley by 1-0, that kind of leads into what we were talking about earlier and what I was saying about Central Valley. Like, I don't think they're a team that is going to be chaotic in the sense that they're going to be the ones that are going to be making the playoffs or anything, but they're going to be one of those teams where you can't look past them.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that scoreline I feel like is a little bit deceiving too,
Yeah.
um, because if we go into like the stats, it was pretty even on possession, about as close as you can get really to
Yep.
50-50. It's 51 to 49. Um, but you go ahead and look at shots. I mean, Charlotte had 13 shots to Fuego's 5 and 4 on target to Fuego's 1. I don't even think Fuego got a shot on target until the second half of that match.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, I think you're right on that one.
like that one nil is it's very deceiving because Charlotte, I really feel kind of watching it again. They had firm control of the match, and it was never as in doubt as a 1-0 scoreline could seem.
Yeah. And I mean, they had 13 total shots. I mean, yeah, like you said, Central Valley only had one shot on target. Um, Charlotte had 8 shots inside the box. So, man, that's just, yeah,
Yeah, that's if when you're dominating the opponent's box like that, that just kind of shows that maybe the finishing is not quite there for them that match, but they were still pretty dominant.
yeah. And Charlotte had more passes in Fuego's half than they had in their own. That, that tells you how much they had their foot on the gas pedal that night.
Yep, and it just comes down to consistency. I'm sure there was I'm sure there was a ton of those passes that were probably picked off by Fuego and moved forward, um, to get their possession as high as it was. But yeah, I mean, it looks good on paper for Fuego, but diving in a little bit deeper, I think it looks better for Charlotte.
Yeah. I, I'm interested to see if Charlotte can carry this hot start. I guess I shouldn't say carry it, but how long they can sustain this hot start.
Hmm.
Um, they're getting great. I mean, Austin Pack in goal. Yeah, he's man, that guy is having a great season.
It's a real deal, man.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, then you have like Clay Dimmick. He's man, he could. I mean, I don't know that there's another defender out there right now that is as hot as he is. And not only is he doing it on the offensive side, but he's clearly doing it on the defensive side. So I think he's probably like like a obvious pick for defender of the year right now.
Yeah, he's got it all. The
Yeah.
defense, and he does really well. And we all know that the best quality for a defender is offense. So
Yep, exactly.
have to have offense as a defender, apparently, and he does.
And right in front of Clay Dimmick is Miguel Ibarra. So I mean the right side of Charlotte's offense, and in front of Miguel Ibarra is Dane Kelly. Man. And then it's just yeah, you look at this in the middle, they have Omar Sis. On the left side, they have Corey Bennett, and he's helping Gabriel Oberton. I mean, it's just yeah, this is another one of those teams where the lineup, when you look at their roster, just like how did they do this?
I will say though that with Charlotte, there seems to be a weakness with Charlotte. If you can control the side of the field that they're trying to go down, which is usually the right side. If
Yeah.
you can control that side, their offense shuts down.
Yeah.
They have to work through the right side of the pitch to get anything going. And you saw
Yeah.
that on Wednesday when they played Union Omaha. Union Omaha was switching guys to that right side to defend it better, and it completely shut down their offense.
Yeah. That's
Um,
that's an incredibly good point. Yeah.
Now, Omaha is a tough defensive team. They always have been. They probably always will be. They were built on the defensive mind. Um, and it's still early, so Charlotte could still be figuring out, okay, if I can't play through the right, we'll have to play through the left or the center, and we'll figure it out. So it really makes our job difficult trying to get commentary together for these teams when there's just so much that can be done between these times, and there's so many good coaches in this league right now that can
Hmm.
make these fast switches to get these teams firing on all cylinders. And I don't think there's one single team that's firing on cylinders right now. Charlotte might be the one that's closest to it.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Yeah. Um, it's just it's just crazy to see them play week in and week out, knowing that this is a this man. It's just one of those teams that trying to gather my thought on that one. Um, Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over myself right
Oh,
now.
you're good. I mean, they're a tough team to figure out. Um, there's it'll be interesting. I mean, we kind of saw it last season. Charlotte was moving themselves up um, last season, and I think it's kind of set them up to be this sort of run that they're season. They were trending up at the end of last season.
Yeah, yeah, and they need to get more fans in the stands. I mean, if you're a Charlotte Independence fan, spread the word and get more people out there. You can't have less than 500 people showing up to your matches.
Yeah. Funnily enough, the website that I use for attendance still only has Charlotte with one match played at home. So, and everybody else is caught up. So they are intentionally not putting their out there. So
That's
I
dumb.
don't have I mean their average for one match was just about 4,000 people. So, I mean, I'll let somebody else who's better versed at math figuring this out. But you get 500 people for two more matches. That's a significant.
Yeah, yeah,
Joop Loop's coming in saying when they start having less people than the smallest market, that's bad. It is.
yeah.
Um,
That's true.
yeah, that's a very good point, Soup. I don't really have anything else to say. That's kind of the best way to put it.
All right. So if we move beyond that match, the last one we had was Lexington hosting Greenville, and Greenville getting the road victory 2-0. So I think, man, let me look back over the results and what fans voted for, because I don't know if the fans and myself got any of these predictions right. I think week 5, the
Mm.
fans did a really good job. This week, I don't know if they did as well. Um,
It's tough. I'll be the first one to admit I don't do it week to week.
no, yeah, yeah, and that's not me like trying to throw the fans under the bus. It's just, yeah, that's
It's just
how
tough,
tough it
man.
is to predict. Yeah, they had Union Omaha winning against Charlotte. That one didn't happen. Um,
You know
Central
what?
Valley Fuego.
Yeah, you got to
What's
give
up?
fans and stuff and ourselves a little bit of a break too, because I don't think a whole lot of us pick draws for any of these matches.
Yeah, there were no draws for that week. Oh, there was a draw for Lexington and Greenville.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
that's
they did get the Central or the Charlotte. They got that one.
Charlotte and Fuego.
Yeah. And they got North Carolina. They got that one. Uh, oh my gosh, they got Tormenta as well. Holy shit, maybe I was completely wrong on that one.
Well, I mean, the top 3 teams in the league, picking them
Yeah.
to win against some of the further to the bottom teams. That's a safe way to go, but they still got it correct.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody that
And
votes, and thanks for the votes too, guys. That's awesome.
yeah,
It
we got
helps us with what you guys are thinking, and gives us a little bit more talking points, so we can kind of talk through your picks too.
yeah, it's cool to see the number of votes increase each week that we do this. I think the first time we had it, it was like right around 10. Next week it was in the teens, and then now I mean, we had for one of the matches for Union Omaha versus Charlotte, we had 42 votes. And then the others were steadily in the 20s. So yeah, it was awesome to see the fans showing up and putting their vote in.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's cool. So yeah, for the Lexington and Greenville, man, that was there were some really good. Okay, so when Tyler did the post match interviews, there were some good quotes that came out of there, and I'm trying to think of some of the ones that he had right off the top of my head, but um, shout out to Tyler for getting those post match quotes and posting them online for us all to enjoy because there truly were some good quotes that came out of it.
Hmm. Yeah, and if you guys missed any of the Friday night hangout last week, where we did have Tyler on, I mean, you can tell that he really loves the club and does great work. All the stuff that he does for the club. Make sure you guys
Yep.
go and follow him as well. But the match itself, I mean, there were some points in that where Lexington actually looked like they might be able to pull something off.
Hmm.
They were they had most of the possession with
Yep.
62%. Granted, not surprising when you're playing Greenville. You're going to
Yeah.
have most
Exactly.
of the possession. That's just how it works.
Yep.
Um, but it really took Greenville until the 37th minute and a red card for Lexington in the 27th minute to even get a goal. Um,
Yeah.
and they had some pretty decent looks, but nothing really just. It looks like Greenville wasn't going to click this match again, which I mean that was kind of how both of these teams were going to be in this match. You didn't know who was going to actually come together and start clicking and put together a full night, because they've both been so up and down in every match they've played. Um, but Lexington had 11 shots to Greenville's 9, 3 shots on target to Greenville's 2, 62% of the possession, and 84% pass accuracy to 70.
Hmm.
It just statistically looking at this, you would have thought Lexington would have been a lot more in control of the match and able to score on one of them. Lexington does have the players that can. I mean, Greenville is just such a stout defensive team that they make it hard for anybody to score on. And it plays right into their hand, too. They don't want possession. Lexington will play with possession and be fine. And so I don't want to say Lexington fell into the trap, but it, they played Greenville in Greenville's game, and Bill's just done it.
Yeah. So Greenville is going to be one of those clubs this year where they're going to be sneaky in the way that they operate, and that they're going to uh, try to suck you into their system, and then once they get a hold of you, they're going to drag you down. You can sit there and say, "Oh well, we have possession." Okay, good. Congrats, you have possession against Greenville. What are you going to do with it? Because, like you said, Greenville's defense. I mean, they're a stellar defense, and so having, possession against them is such a small victory that it's not even worth, celebrating. Uh, Greenville's definitely gonna be one of those teams that, yeah, they're gonna catch some teams uh, by surprise with the way that they operate their defense because um, they're gonna suck you in, and they're like I said, they're just gonna drag you down.
Mhm. Greenville continues to play the style of play that's been successful in League One in the past. It seems like there's been a shift for a lot of these teams to more possession based style of play. Um, but Greenville is still sitting on their laurel. We're going to play stout defense and we're going to kill you on the counter. They do it
Yeah,
well.
yeah. And I'm trying to. I want to get a replay of the Caesar Real red card, but I'm not seeing. I can't find a video of it, but because I can't remember that red card.
Um,
I was gonna try to ask you if that was a legit red card, but I can't even find the video myself. So, but oh well.
oh, yeah, it was. So if you go to the USL YouTube page in the Greenville and Lexington, it's 58 seconds in, and it was a last man situation, last defender back, and he took his legs out from under him as the last man. You can't do that. You got to at least get some of the ball, and even then, honestly, if you take him down with you, you're probably going to get. There was just no attempt on the actual ball itself, so yeah, I think a well deserved red card there.
Let me. Oh yeah, I'm watching it now. Yep. Okay, I do remember watching that one. Yep, that was an easy call.
Yeah, and I mean I'm not. It's hard for me to remember a lot of these matches too. There's been a ton of matches that have been, so they're all
Yeah.
starting to kind of run together.
Exactly, yeah, that's why I'm off my game tonight. I've just been watching so much soccer lately.
Well, yeah, I mean you have a ton of stuff, the Open Cup and stuff like that. So
Yep,
everybody, make sure you too check out all of Rich's stuff coming out Cup because he's been killing it with stuff too.
thanks.
A ton of assignments too.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching that one, seeing it, yep. That was unfortunate. I think Greenville was gonna get the goal anyways, so for him to take him out, that was an easy call.
But
A
yeah, the,
player for Greenville that I'm surprised, um, is having the season that he is. Uh, Kinda surprised at, Coutinho. I thought he was gonna be having a much better season this year.
mm-hmm.
No, I could be talking out of my ass, but I don't know. I he's one of those players that he's going to be good every single season. It's just how good is he going to be? And maybe it's just the fact that we have such lofty expectations for a player like him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Kind of thought he was going to be starting off the season a lot hotter. I mean, he does have 2 goals and 1 assist, but I don't know.
Just don't
He
hear
does
his
have. I
name
mean,
as often as you would have thought.
he also has 6 chances created. So I mean, he's putting in the work. It's just I maybe it was just not as flashy as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, and there that's probably part of it, and also with Greenville's kind of not so great start to the
True.
season.
Yeah.
You, I'm guilty of it. You generally pay a little bit less attention to teams at the bottom of the table than at the top or your home team. So,
Also very true.
but we'll see. I mean, and there's just a ton of players too. Like that's another thing. There's a ton of players in this league that are really good. So you're gonna have to be on your to really
Yeah.
get that I don't want to say like fan support, but that fan recognition, that name recognition. You're really going to have to be in and out, week in, week out, scoring goals, assisting goals, defending well to get that. And I don't feel like it's been that that difficult in years past. I think the talent pool was there, but it was spread across a lot less teams.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's so much talent across the entire league. You're going to have to really stand out.
Yep. And Lexington is going to be one of those teams that's going to sneak up on people. A lot of people are counting them out, me included. I consistently have them toward the bottom of our power rankings. They're one of those teams you're seeing it on the field week in, week out. They're playing at a high level. They're getting better each week. They're not getting the results they deserve, but I can't help but think that they're not very far from clicking. And once they do click, they're going to start getting the results they deserve. Um, I don't know that I'm ready to say that they're going to be a playoff team, but it's gonna be one of those situations where they're going to be performing well enough to capture the attention of the rest of the league, and you're going to kind of sneakily, be supporting them. Excuse me, and rooting for them, um, just because of the fact that they're new to the league and um, they had a rough start. You want to see them, improve and all that kind of stuff, and um, I don't know. I don't think they're far off from turning things around.
No, I agree with you. They're wildly consistent.
Mhm.
Just it is insane the level of inconsistency that comes out of Lexington.
Yeah, yeah,
They'll have moments where they look like world beaters, and they'll have moments where they look like wooden spoon every year. Like
yeah.
and it's the swings are so what they're so violent that I feel like you're on a wooden roller coaster from like 1965 watching this team because you were getting thrown left to right. Great play, horrible play. Great play, horrible play. Like they're so inconsistent. It boggles my mind that they haven't been able to put it together yet. Because I agree with you 100%. Once they start putting it together, that is going to be a scary good team. But can't, you can't be that inconsistent and expect to do anything.
I cannot think of a better metaphor for than what you just did. That was awesome. Yeah, that was really good.
So yeah, I was gonna like say it was like the. I mean, this is gonna be very regional, so everybody on like the East Coast will be like, "What the fuck is that?" But anybody in the Midwest, and like, if you go to Worlds of Fun, and is it? I think it's the Timberwolf at
Yeah,
Worlds of Fun. That
yeah.
one, I don't think it's been redone, or maybe it has since the last time I was there. I think 5 or 6 years ago was the last time I was there, but it's exactly like what it was. It was like built in the '80s and just destroys your back. And like now I'm old, so wood roller coasters suck for me now. But that's exactly what it feels like watching Lexington sometimes. But oh man, they got to put it together sometime, right?
Yeah. Yep.
They have to. You would think anyway, or maybe they won't. I don't know. This
Do
league
you
is so
think
weird.
do you think this year's Lexington is last year's Northern Colorado?
Wildly inconsistent, and then put it together halfway through the season.
Yeah, and then light it up?
Mm. They have the potential.
Yeah.
They have the potential, and I feel like they have the um, I don't know why I keep blanking on words that I want to use. Anyway, they have the setup to be able to do it. The infrastructure, that was the word, infrastructure to do it. But whether or not they're going to be able to put it together this season remains to be seen. There's a lot of really good teams, and I'd have to take a look at their schedule. Really, really tough because it doesn't look like any team is going to get a long stretch of not of like almost sure wins this season. I think every
Mhm.
team has those stretches of maybe 1 or 2 matches where you're like, "Yeah, we should probably win both of those." But then you have stretches of 2 or 3 matches where it's like, "This is a toss-up
Yep.
at best," or "We have no shot." So, um, I don't think Lexington or any team in the league right now should be thinking that they don't have a shot to beat anybody. Um, but it'll be interesting. They could be, um, last year's Northern Colorado, but I don't necessarily foresee them being do what Northern Colorado did last year.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to I'm trying to think if this is a team that has the potential to be like that Northern Colorado team. And like you said, I they have the pieces in place to pull some, surprises as the season progresses, but to get hot enough to, you know, challenge for a playoff spot, I don't know. I don't think they're there. One player for Lexington, and oh man, I'm gonna butcher this name so badly, but he's a player that deserves to get a lot more respect and discussion than he is. Um, oh man, I apologize for butchering this name. I will look up the proper pronunciation when I have some time.
Don't
But
yell at us, Ross.
yeah, uh, Dlamini, he's their one of their midfielders. That guy's good. That
Yeah,
guy's good.
they got pieces, man.
Yeah. He's a guy that can find space and not only, find space to pose threats on the other side of the field, but he's a guy who knows where to angle his passes to support his team as best he can. Yeah, he's good. I do want to see him as a central midfielder, winning more of his duels. But for his offensive threats, I think that he's got plenty of potential to be a valuable contributor to that team. It's just the defensive side. Unfortunately, Lexington is going to be on defense quite a lot this season, and as a central midfielder, you got to put in that work. And so I'd like to see his defensive stats, increase a little bit more. But on offense, I think he's going to be a very good contributor.
It's fair.
Yeah. All right, so that was all of week six's action. Um, so now we head into week seven.
Mhm. A lot of good matches in this one.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And the voting for uh, the breakdown, the in-depth breakdown this week, it was close. There were, man, you guys put in a lot of votes, and so it was awesome to see that race um, in the poll. So that was cool.
Mhm.
So once again, thanks for everybody getting out there and voting on the polls. That was cool. So we start off on. So we have 5 matches on Saturday and one on Sunday. Um, start off week 7 action on Saturday evening with Ford Madison hosting Charlotte. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Man, that's going to
Um,
be a good one.
and on 2 unbeatens, um, in league play.
Yeah.
Um, a Charlotte team that has played so many matches now that you kinda know what they're gonna bring to the table, and a Forward Madison team that you don't necessarily know exactly what they're at or
Hmm.
what they're gonna be bringing. Um, it's it is at Breeze Stevens,
Hmm.
so that does give Forward Madison a huge, huge home field advantage,
Yeah.
um, in what some may be calling a, like, playoff preview type of match, if there is one this early in the season. Um, God, it's gonna be very interesting to see Forward Madison's attack, um going up against Charlotte's defense and vice versa, Charlotte's attack going against forward Madison.
Yep.
Um, and that's going to be a tough one to pick. There's just so many good players on both sides in this that I think Madison we don't quite know. That that 4-1 drubbing of Greenville um, last Saturday kind of woke some people up to Madison, but you
Yeah.
have to wonder if that was a fluke or if that was the true potential of forward Madison.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know that I'm ready to say that was the true potential for Ford Madison, but uh Madison is scary good. And whether they can do that on a consistent basis is a real question for them. Um I think they're definitely a quality team. I don't know. I don't think I had them in the playoffs when we did our preseason poll or whatever, when we did our whatever
Hmm.
playoff race thing that we did. But I just can't help but look at their roster and think like, how are you not contending for the playoffs? How are you not getting the results? I mean, they have good players. And having Charlotte come to town for a home match, I mean, got to get amped up for that. You got to be able to give a show to the fans. That's man, that's
Hmm.
yeah.
Just because I'm curious here, up the weather
And
forecast.
yeah, I think I saw it's going to be in the low 50s with a small chance for rain.
Yeah, 55 degrees with a chance of rain. Yeah, I mean, not the best. I was kind of hoping to see what they're going to be getting on Friday, which is 69 degrees and partly cloudy. That probably would have been a better match because, but you know what? I'm not that worried about it. I think Madison fans are going to fill that place anyway because they always do.
Yeah. Madison has never defeated Charlotte.
Not once, really.
Never defeated them.
Well, they got to get that. They got to get that bug off their back, I guess, at some point, right?
Yeah.
Would it be this week? Question. I don't think
Yeah,
so,
I'm
personally.
looking at
But
the history between these two. Um, yeah, I mean, well, I mean, Charlotte did enter the league for the first time, uh, last season. So there's a small, sample size to be pulling this from, but uh, yeah, Charlotte won 2-1 in Brees Stevens last season, and then when Ford Madison went to visit Charlotte the first time was a 6-2 drubbing,
mm,
and then it was a 0-0 draw. So yeah, Ford Madison has never defeated Charlotte. So with that in mind, both of these clubs are undefeated. Ford
mm.
Madison has never defeated Charlotte. How do you see it going?
I see the drought. And I just think
Hmm.
there's too much firepower for Charlotte. Granted, as we talked about earlier, the blueprint is there to stop them from scoring. You have to
Yeah,
shut down their right side. And if you do that, you have a pretty good chance of it. And I mean, the keeper's not going to be standing on his head every match like he did in the Omaha. Maybe, might, but Austin Pack can't do that every single time.
yeah,
Um, but then that also falls on forward Madison. Can you um, redo the success that you had against Green when your offense was clicking, really clicking, and your defense even was a part of it. Their defense sprung that counterattack where you had six Madison players running against Greenville's keeper.
hmm
Um, I think I heard a Kyle Carr say on I don't remember what spot. Maybe it was Talking Flock where he just looked up and saw a wall of blue coming at him. So the blueprint is there, but I don't have the confidence in Madison to do that, especially with how little we've seen of him. I just think Charlotte's more of a known quantity, just a safer pick. But I honestly don't know how this one. Just gonna go with the
Yeah.
safe Charlotte win.
I want to look at one thing here really quick. Um, well, it shouldn't take long. So I'm looking at Ford Madison here, and yeah, I mean they had that 4-1 victory over Greenville. That was their home opener. So this is going to be their second home match of this. Yeah, man, I thought they'd played more matches this season.
One of those with which is
3.
yep.
Man, thought they had more under their belt. Never mind. But yeah, Bree Stevens, that's going to be a fun place to be.
Mhm.
Um, some of the other matches we have Saturday night, we have Chattanooga hosting Lexington. We have Tormenta hosting Richmond, Union Omaha hosting Northern Colorado. And then Sunday, we
So
have Fuego hosting One Knox. That's a pretty even matchup, too.
um, there's a lot of these even matches. I think Lexington and Chattanooga are the exact same team
Yeah.
playing each other, wildly inconsistent. So this is a get right game for them for sure for both sides. Whoever comes out of that one, or they'll
Yep.
come out with a draw and we'll learn absolutely nothing. But that's probably the most likely scenario because the league likes to play that. That's what I'm definitely gonna have my eye on as far as besides the
Yeah. So for the fan voted breakdown, we're going to continue doing those fan votes each week. So tune in for more of those polls, and we'll get better in depth breakdowns with the matches that the fans choose. But for this week, we have Greenville hosting North Carolina. I'm pretty happy that the fans chose this one because man, this is gonna be a fun one to watch. You have North Carolina's offense against Greenville's defense. That's obviously the headline. That's the matchup that everyone's gonna be watching. Um, yeah, this is gonna be very interesting. And since North Carolina has come into the league since 2021, they only have one win against Greenville. Greenville has 4 wins against North Carolina. And I'm trying to go even further here. Um, Yeah, that one win that North Carolina had was in North Carolina, so they have never won um, at Greenville. I was gonna say at what was their old stadium?
legacy or
Um,
college.
yeah, that's the one. I was gonna say that, but yeah, they're at Paladin Stadium now.
Yeah, the Furman Triumph. Yeah.
Furman, yep. Furman Triumph, yep.
I mean, it's only
I
fair. We get called Papillion, uh, or Union Papillion, so
Union Pavilion, yeah.
Furman Triumph. See,
Both teams won their last 2 league matches. Um,
yeah,
so
Greenville rounded into form at the right time.
yeah, yeah. They have confidence on their side. And man, Paladin Stadium, that's going to be a fun place to be on Saturday night.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that you brought this point up earlier, and with how many options at attack NCFC has, I'm a little bit worried about Greenville's ability to play defense on all of those guys because Greenville is a very stout defensive team, but I feel like at times they can be exposed by a little bit of speed.
Yeah.
You saw it a little bit in that Lexington match. Guys were getting outrun to balls on the corners quite a bit, and I feel like NCFC has the skill guys out wide to be able to get the ball into a dangerous position in front of the net. And enough finishers to be able to put those, whether that be um, on the initial ball in or a ball that's not cleared properly. Because NCFC has guys like Rafa Menzingen last year was scoring bangers from long ways out.
Mhm.
Um, so Greenville's really going to have to play that defensive strategy that they have been playing, have shown in the past few years that they can play, but it's going to have to be turned up to like championship levels. And I just don't know that Greenville has that extra button right now with how inconsistent they've been this season, beginning of the season being so down low, and then these last two matches playing really well. Which side of that is going to come out? That's always the issue when inconsistent. Like,
And I think you also hit on, um, well, we hit on this theme earlier, but looking at the right side of Charlotte's attack, which is where they, that's their bread and butter over there. Um, it's going to be a very busy night for Greenville's left side of the field for that matchup. Um, Gavilanes, Aaron Walker, uh, what's the left back's name? Bigger. Um, those guys are going to be busy against that Charlotte, right side of the field.
NCFC, you mean?
Olex. What's that?
NCFC,
What did I say?
Charlotte.
Oh yeah, sorry, North Carolina. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I mean, looking at Olex Anderson.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I mean that whole um, Shaq Adams. I mean, if he comes onto the field, the options that he brings to the table. I mean, yeah, that Greenville left side is going to be very busy that night.
Hmm. Yeah. One guy that I really think they need to keep um, an eye on too is Nelson Blanco. Um,
Yes.
I have a feeling that NCFC is going to want to play a lot through him, um, especially in this match. Um, I expect him to be matched up with maybe some of the younger, quicker guys on Greenville's side. Excuse me. So you're probably, or maybe that's how Greenville will defend Blanco Flores, just because he is such a quick and smart player. I wonder if you see somebody like a Devin Boyce on him just as the aggression factor.
Mhm.
If NCFC can't play through the side they want to play on, they're going to have to play through the middle. And I feel like um, Blanco Flores is going to be a big key to that and kind of an underrated player on that team that doesn't get talked enough about,
Yeah.
um, but is always doing the right thing, can have the ball play through.
Yeah, and it's funny that we're talking about a contributor like that on offense because I mean that's their left back. And not only he's good on defense,
Yeah,
but
he fills that kind of fullback role,
yeah, I mean he's a
play the
wing back.
entire thing.
He's
Yeah.
he's the definition of a wing back right there.
Mhm. Yeah, and so I just wonder if it gets, especially if it gets a little bit later, do you see them cheat those guys forward a little bit more to try to break out and get a W?
You have
Um,
to. Yeah.
and then on the flip side, do you think Greenville at all comes out of their own identity and tries to throw more bodies forward at any point in this match, or do they try to rest on their laurels as we're a defensive team that's going to hit you on the counter, even though Greenville's team is largely the same as it was last year and getting a little bit up there in age.
No, I don't see Greenville. Greenville's bread and butter for this one is going to be the counterattack. That's how they're going to that's the only way they're going to get this done. You're not going to be able to get possession against North Carolina. They're going to hold the ball way more often throughout the entire match. Greenville, and that's not to be disrespectful against Greenville. Greenville is a team that can pass. They are very accurate with their fundamentals, with their passing. They know how to find those windows between the defenders to get themselves open. Um, but when their offensive production, they're very slow and methodical in their approach. Whereas North Carolina, they play with their hair on fire. They're gonna just, I mean, they're like if you're playing somebody on FIFA and they're just constantly holding down the sprint button as for each player that they, when they sequence between the players, they're just always sprinting. So yeah, I don't see Greenville trying to do something that's that doesn't fit their identity at all. I think both teams are going to do exactly what they've done each and every week. They're going to do exactly what we know they're going to do. Um, Greenville's going to sit back. They're going to defend a whole lot more. They're going to try to counter. I don't know. This is if you're a Greenville fan, you should be very happy with recent results. And for this one, I think you should be very happy with a draw. Obviously, the win would be, ideal, but I almost feel like Greenville should be playing for the draw on this one.
And that's fair, and I don't think there's going to be anything that or any stat or anything that we could look at that says otherwise that Greenville's going to change the way they play because they haven't changed the way they've played since they've been in the league. And it's been successful so far. So I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I I just feel like something they're going to have to try to do something to be able to counter this NCFC team. It's just they're they're pretty young and they're very fast. Like you said, they don't stop running.
Yeah. I want to look up something here really quick. So Greenville has played 5 matches this season. Let's see. Against Richmond, they had a total of, oh wow, they had 14 shots in that match. That's surprising.
Mhm.
Oh wait, no, that was, yeah. And then against Tormenta, they had 15. That's also surprising. Oh, I already did that one. Against Torment, or I'm sorry, against Ford Madison, they had 17. Wow, what? This is a complete surprise, man. I'm sitting here thinking like I thought they were going to be like 9, 10,
Mhm.
7. They're putting up some shots. Against Fuego, they had 18. Holy shit, man. This is this is a wild surprise for me. This is
And I think that has a lot to do with like you touched on earlier, they are very efficient with their passing. So
yeah.
it does not take them 15 passes to get up the field. It's usually like 3 or 4 for them to get from one side of the field to the other. And they do it well. There's a lot of good players on that team that gets the long very well. And that's why their counterattack is so effective. Um, they do need some help in the finishing department, it seems like a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Um, but then again, what team in League One doesn't have that issue
Yeah.
at some point? I think everybody, you could watch any match and every team is going to miss a pretty clear sitter every once in a while. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I'm shocked as well to hear that they've put that many shots on goal, but it's not like it comes off initially as very surprising, but then kind of think about their counterattacking style and it's not as crazy, I guess.
Yeah, I'm looking at North Carolina now. In their match against Tormenta, they had 12 shots there. In their match against Lexington, they had 10. This is also surprising. In their draw against Charlotte, they had 16. And in their win against Union Omaha, they had 13. Man, yeah, I thought North Carolina was beat. Man, this is a surprising stat comparison here. Jeez.
But then we look at the goals for North Carolina sitting at 8
Yeah.
goals this season to Greenville's 6. So the efficiency numbers are much higher for North Carolina than they are for, I use much higher in air quotes. Um,
And look at
eh,
the goals against for Greenville.
yeah, I was just about to bring that up. As far as us talking about them being such a stout defensive team, they're sitting at a -1 goal differential right now with 7 given, where North Carolina is sitting with 4 goals allowed with a goal differential of +4. Um, so, not surprising that NCFC has a high goal differential or high goals for, and it is surprising that their defense is doing so well. And the inverse is true for Green. Surprising that they've given up 7 goals and only scored 6.
I feel like you kind of have to take that one with a grain of salt because didn't Greenville have that like 4-1 loss to Madison?
Madison, yep.
So that kind of sank them a little bit. Um,
Mhm,
so outside of that, they would have been 5 goals for, 3 goals against. Say be a +2 goal differential.
mhm,
Um, at that point, they would have been conceding less than a goal per match. So yeah, that stat sank them. Those outliers, they'll hurt you and all that kind of stuff. But um, I but I mean at the same time, I mean you can't those outliers. Oh, having 4 scored against you, that sucks, man. So having a -1 goal differential heading in, uh, certainly not ideal, but they've been in great form recently. I mean, they have 2 shutouts, 3-0 against Fuego and 2-0 against Lexington.
yep,
And then North Carolina, they had the 2-1 victory over Union Omaha and then a 3-0 victory over Chattanooga. So both these clubs are firing on all cylinders. Only 1 goal scored against both of these clubs in their last, you know, 2 matches
mhm,
combined. So that's man, that's
yeah. They're both riding kind of a hot streak. So I think that's why this is so intriguing. Is you're going to find out a lot about both of these teams after this match.
yeah, this one's gonna be fun to watch. That's for sure. Yeah. All right. So that is week 7 action. We had plenty of or I'm sorry, League One clubs involved in the Open Cup, and unfortunately, they all lost.
Hmm.
Let me take a look at those results here really quick. On Tuesday, we had Charlotte go to extra time against Charleston Battery of the championship, and they lost 1-0. And then we had Tormenta playing the MLS club Charlotte FC, and they lost 4-1. And then Union Omaha lost to St. Louis City 5-1. And then Richmond, oh man, they kept it close with DC United losing 1-0.
Yeah,
That was a
travesty
tough
that
one.
that wasn't on TV as well.
Yep. Yeah, radio. What the hell is that? That's stupid. Northern Colorado kept it close for most of the match, but ended up giving up a couple late goals and losing to Colorado Rapids 3-1.
Yeah, just self-inflicted ones. I remember watching that
Yeah,
pretty closely. Just it sucks for Northern Colorado because they looked like a team that could have won that match, but just shot themselves in the foot a couple times.
yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, all the League One clubs are out of the Open Cup, but that means they get to focus on League One regular season play now. And
Right.
you can make an argument that that's going to make their regular season even better because they don't have any distractions. Um, each team is bringing their best club or their best roster every single week because they don't have to worry about resting anybody or preparing for the next U.S. Open Cup match. So um, the league could be better off for missing out on Open Cup play.
And it's all right. Every once, last season was really great for League One, and this season not so much. So maybe next
Yeah.
season, you never know. I mean, it also comes down to how these clubs are going to take League One teams, and I think after last year, they kind of found out that you can't take them as lightly as used to. The
Yeah.
gap is not that big anymore between
Hmm.
MLS, the I'll say the top tier MLS and the top tier League One is still a pretty big, but
Yeah.
your mid to bottom tier MLS teams or MLS players are about the same level as your top tier leagues.
Yep.
And I mean, we're
Um,
seeing that too with, guys like Ethan Bryant going to um,
Sporting Kansas
Sporting
City.
Kansas City too and getting a start this weekend.
Yeah, that was cool.
Um, I mean, and there's other guys too that have come from the league that are getting starts out there too. So the League One is definitely growing for the better. And I don't think MLS sides are going to take them as lightly. And so, um, but that also that also makes it harder for the teams to get cup sets. But it also raises the level of play because they know next year, yeah, we're going to have to up our level of game if we want to make some cup sets or make some noise.
Yeah, and speaking of cup sets, we still have 8 USL Championship clubs that are in the Open Cup. So they're taking on the mountain of 24 MLS clubs that are remaining. So definitely continue watching the Open Cup and staying tuned to all that action because it's good to continue supporting USL in that regard.
Hmm.
Trying to pull up some of those. Oh, here it is. Um, I think there were even a couple of setups where the championship clubs were facing off against each other.
Yeah.
Charleston Batteries playing Miami. Um, Pittsburgh Riverhounds are playing Revolution. Sacramento Republic's playing Colorado Rapids. Where's the Loudoun United's playing Columbus Crew? Oh, there's the matchup I was thinking. Birmingham Legion is playing Memphis 901,
Mm.
and New Mexico United is taking on Austin FC. So actually, there's only one where two championship clubs are facing off against each other.
Well, that's good though.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be good. But yeah, as far as League One is concerned, we still have what we're in week 7, so we still have. I mean, not even halfway through the season. We're like a
Yeah.
quarter of the way through the season, so still tons of League One action coming your way. And
Hmm.
I mean, there's some very, very good matches coming up this weekend. So get out there on the ESPN Plus broadcast, watch those, support your local clubs, get out there to the stadiums if you have a home match, and yeah, keep supporting all the independent coverage that you're seeing. Whether it's your local club podcasts, league podcasts like us. Um, yeah, just yeah, keep supporting the league. All the content you can. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
Hmm. Yeah, there definitely is. And I don't know if anybody else in the stream is kind of around or is if your team doesn't have a home match this season, gee, this this week. Um, I know Rich is not going to be there, which is regrettable. But I mean, it's for a good cause. Going to see a Broadway play. That's a good reason to miss a match. But I'm going to
We're
be doing. Oh, go ahead, Rich.
uh, in my defense, they are fresh off their spell on Broadway, and some of the original cast members are going to be in that production, and because it's only a limited tour, it's not this big, huge, long national tour. It's only a couple dates in a couple different cities, so that's the biggest reason why I felt the the urge to get out there to Chicago because this is going to be an incredible production with some really, really good cast members there too. But the biggest news coming from Brian, yeah, get to it, man, because you got some cool news coming.
Yeah. So if anybody's going to be sitting around at home waiting for your match, or maybe when your match is getting over, or while you're waiting for your match to start, I'm going to be doing a um, kind of an impromptu live from the tailgate. So I'll be sitting in my usual tailgate spot. I think my brother said he's going to come on and do a little bit of talking. We're going to talk a bit about the league. We're going to look at. I think we're going to catch some of the Ford Madison Charlotte match. At least we'll be able to talk about that a little bit. We'll get his thoughts on the rest of the games, and then you'll get my multiple beer in thoughts for Union Omaha, Northern Colorado. So
There you go.
be on the lookout for that. It'll be on the YouTube channel. Hoping it works. I'm gonna try to have the power bank and everything ready to go so I can stay on for at least an hour or so. Just talk to everybody, but and anybody that's in Omaha that wants to come over and say hi and hang out on the show for a minute, it's more than you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that might be something. If this one goes well, that might be something we continue to do. It might not be. We're just gonna kind of play it by ear, but just wanted to give you guys something a little bit special because I forced us to miss a couple shows due to my car thing. So just trying to make it up just a little bit with you.
Oh, you're perfectly fine. So we get insights from Colin. We get uh tailgate worthy, banter from you guys. And if you guys have not hung out with Colin and Brian, man, it is a lot of fun. Those guys get going. There's some fun debates that they get into, and
Yeah.
uh when they get going back and forth, it's a lot of fun to just sit back and relax and just enjoy the show because yeah, those guys are entertaining. So having Colin provide some insights on Saturday is going to be a lot of fun. And not only is Brian going to be doing the tailgate stuff, track him down at halftime as
Yep.
well because you got the thoughts from the beer line.
hmm Like I said, I'll if you camp outside the bathroom, outside of I'm not even going to tell you what section. If you want to know that and you don't already know, then go listen back because I think I've said it before multiple times. So uh, that's where I'm gonna head first. Forewarning: I always have to hit the bathroom before the rest of halftime. But yeah, if you guys want to come over and give your thoughts for halftime, just come find me, pester me, and get you on and get your thoughts. So,
Yeah, man, Saturday's going to be a fun day for you, man. And I can't wait to see those videos. That's going to be cool.
yeah, and then I got I'm gonna be doing a write up for Who Gives a Hoot on
Yes.
fan atmosphere. I'm gonna get pictures, maybe a video or two, and get that thrown up, and then get the first article of the season, really first real article of what I'm doing thrown out this weekend. Hopefully, have that ready by Sunday afternoon. So be on the lookout for that too, and then also, of course, be on the lookout for all the stuff Rich is doing. Rich is doing stuff for Who Gives a Hoot. He's doing stuff for Open Cup. He's doing. I'm sure he has about 12 million other things he's doing because this dude just stays busy. So um, make sure you're following him on Twitter and getting at him with all the cool stuff he's doing.
Thank you for that shout out. Yeah, I'm looking forward to your article about the fan stuff because um, I don't mind saying it. Nobody writes about the fan atmosphere, and so for you to take on that initiative to discuss what's going on in the stands, that's cool. That's a cool perspective.
Get that. I saw kind of a, I mean, and Luke and all the guys over there too saw that kind of void in coverage, and was curious if anybody wanted to do it. And that's kind of my favorite part about this stuff. So
Yeah,
jumped right on that, and I didn't get an article out for the first two because it didn't really seem right with it being, 30 degrees one match and sleet and hail the next match,
and a different home site.
and a different home site. So we're looking at about sunny and 70 on Saturday for
Whoa,
one
really?
match. So yeah,
Whoa, dang.
high winds though. So I mean, but we knew
Okay,
that going into it.
yeah,
40-mile-an-hour winds is about normal here. So,
yeah,
but it'll be good, and there's a ton of great matches on this weekend. So
yep,
as Rich said before, get out and support your local club and find your watch parties and support your watch parties,
yeah,
vendors, and all that stuff too. So just get out there and have fun.
yeah,
You guys earned a nice weekend, So make sure you get
yep,
out there and live it.
yep. Well, week 7 starts in just a couple days. We have some content coming out tomorrow. We'll have our power rankings released tomorrow. We'll also um, be updating our entire podcast catalog so that it'll go straight to your podcast platforms instead of having to rely on our YouTube live streams for all of our episodes. So that'll be happening. That'll be my project that I'm working on overnight here, and then, obviously Saturday, we got the tailgate stuff, we got the halftime stuff. We'll have all those polls on Twitter. So there's plenty of League One on the Rocks content coming your way in the immediate future. So keep an eye on us. We're going to be very active. It's going to be a fun week 7.
Yeah, couldn't have said it any better. Perfect.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of League One on the Rocks. We have week 7 this week, and we can't wait to discuss it next week. So thanks for tuning in.